Manga is an absolutely sprawling medium with stories in every single genre. Action, romance, comedy, fantasy, horror. You name it, manga has it. Sometimes though, a story seeps through the cracks. A story that cannot be described in any other way than up. From a story about a sexually charged serial killer, to a series that drove its author mad, to a manga based on one of the most horrific murders ever committed. I'm searching for the story that can hold the title of the most messed up manga. Let's talk about animals. Apart from the obvious, animals aren't really scary. Forget about spiders, sharks, and tigers. Animals really aren't that scary, right? Well, Jinmen aims to prove that wrong by using body horror and a new inventive idea to create one of the most disturbing mangas that I've ever read. Jinmen is set in a world that has been cursed. Animals and humans have been affected by something, which has led to the horrifying joining of the two. Animals with human faces returned to their natural predatory instincts, and they are attacking and eating and killing. To me, Jinmen felt like an interesting take on a post-apocalyptic story, kind of in the vein of most survival horror zombie stories. The main cast is thrown into this mad world, and their main objective is to survive. It takes the famous tropes of a zombie apocalypse story and turns them on their head by using the themology of the animals being the issue rather than the zombies. And as it progressed, Jinmen became a story about the human world and the natural world and the power balance between them. It showed nature fighting back. The way that Jinmen classes as messed up is mostly to do with its art and design, namely its reliance on gore and body horror in order to factor in its fear. The designs of the animals are uncomfortable, uncanny, and often disturbing. The focus is on the detail, which allows this ability to create this uncanny valley depiction of the monsters. Whilst they're never terrifying, they're always unnerving. And the theme itself, the idea of animals gaining human faces and the ability to speak, that's just not right. Jinmen in premise is fantastic. The first portion of the story was a joy to read. It was interesting and it allowed a refreshing take on a common story formula. But as it delved deeper and as I drew closer to the end of the English translations, I felt that it lost its way. The theme began to peel away, and where the idea was once messed up, it became repetitive and never does anything to reinvigorate the fear, instead introducing some stupid concepts that add nothing to the story. I'm not saying don't give Jinmen a try, I'm just saying maybe use it as a taster rather than a full meal. For the messed up ranking, we've got visual 4 out of 5, theme 4 out of 5, psychological 2 out of 5. Total messed up ranking is a 10 out of 15, giving it a B tier. And now the important part. Should you read it? Yes, but maybe don't dedicate yourself to the whole series. And also, it's not all translated. If you're watching this channel, you probably like reading. And if you like reading, then you probably need things to read. Well, I've got just the site for you, Sci-Fire. Sci-Fire is an absolutely wonderful bookstore that specializes in sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, and of course, manga. I've been using them for absolutely ages because they not only have great pricing but also fantastic customer service and top-notch packaging. Like, look at this! If you want to use Sci-Fi yourself, you can head down to the link in the description and use the code NERDLOUNGE for 5% off every order. So get yourself some books, get yourself a discount, and support the channel at the same time. Back to the video. You've heard of Alice in Wonderland, right? The story of a young, innocent girl who is thrust into a surreal world and surrounded by strange wonders, with the want to escape. Okay, now replace Wonderland with a manor, wherein every room is its own reality built around the occupant's truest desires. Replace Alice with, well, Alice, a mysterious girl looking to escape this strange labyrinth, and add a terrifying guard, the demonic serpent. Oh, and the closer Alice gets to escaping the manor, the more she struggles strays away from being human. At its core, this is what Bibliomania is, and bearing in mind it's not only my favourite read from this video, but also one of the best mangas I've ever read, I don't want to divulge too much more about the story. What I can say is that the story develops as Alice moves through the building, encountering all manners of different guests. We get a deep psychological look at each of them, and how their thoughts, dreams, and fears manifest. As I mentioned, as Alice moves further from her room, she changes. She becomes less and less human, affected by a curse the journey inflicts on her. And this is where Bibliomania's main horror element comes in. The curse's design is horrifying and deeply disturbing. It's getting further and further away from what makes Alice human, and we get to see it develop further and further as the chapters go on. And the design itself is helped by the art style of the manga, which I would say lends more from graphic novel styles than what I would normally refer to as a manga style. It feels more painted, less realistic, which ties in perfectly with the theology of the story. The manga is a retrospective on the human condition and what it means to be human, through the eyes of someone that is exploring that fact. It's thought-provoking and it definitely lends well to being read through twice. However, aside from the psychological look at each character in the manner and its harrowing designs at certain points, I definitely wouldn't call this manga messed up. For the messed up ranking, we've got visual 3 out of 5, theme 2 out of 5, psychological 3 out of 5. Messed up ranking is an 8 out of 15, giving it a B tier. And should you read it? 100% yes. This manga is absolutely fantastic. Definitely recommend. The first video that I ever released on this channel started like this.
I asked you to recommend me a manga. Why the did you recommend me this one?
And I've never felt that way again until now, because what the is this manga? Metamorphosis, or 177013 in its original form, isn't really manga, but now it's had its full physical release that you can buy in stores, which should be a crime. I guess it deserves a spot here. It's a coming of age story that follows Saki, this cute nerdy girl, on her adventures into becoming an adult. Is what I wish I could say. Saki was a cute nerdy girl who joined a new school and wanted to fit in, to be popular. And she does. She changes her style, does new things, and even meets a new boy. However, on their first date, he drugged her and had his way with her. This event is the catalyst to Saki's downfall, and we see her fall into the pits of drug abuse, sexual addiction, condemnment by her school, her friends, and her parents, and her resulting isolation from society. Saki faces some of the darkest and most disturbing examples of the evils of the human experience. For this manga, I do not care about spoilers, so here's a little taster of what you might be getting yourself into. Saki is a victim of manipulation, blackmail, and abuse in every chapter of this story. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. There is no happiness to be found. Metamorphosis is a story about suffering and sadness, and it shines a light on the bottom of the barrel of society. This manga is not well written, and its sole intention and purpose is to shock and disgust the readers, which for this series is kind of what we're looking for. But at its core, it's just sad. I've never read a manga that genuinely made me feel disgusting, but Metamorphosis did that. And what makes it more messed up, what makes it more terrifying, is that the things that happen aren't too far detached from reality. This is real life horror, a reflection of how dark our society can truly be. The messed up ranking on this one will come as no surprise. Visual, we've got a 4 out of 5. Theme, we've got a 5 out of 5. Psychological, we've got a 4 out of 5, giving it a total of 13 and an S tier. And should you read this manga? God no. So yeah, That's my exploration into the world of messed up manga, starting with 3 stories. I think it's important to very quickly talk about what makes a story messed up in my eyes. There's only a certain amount of weight that an art style and a gory horror premise can hold for whether a manga is messed up. To me, whilst yes, body horror is scary and kind of messed up, it doesn't hold the same weight as something that is really reflective of the human experience. That's why a story like Metamorphosis that is much more realistic comes across as much more messed up. It's something we can feel empathetic towards, and it's a story that we can place ourselves in the shoes of. That makes it 10 times scarier. And that's going to be the route that I try and explore more of with this series going forward. I want you guys down in the comments below to let me know some messed up manga that you think I should check out and what you thought of these 3 mangas if you've read them yourselves. If you've enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, there's 3 ways you can do so. Number 1 is heading down to the link to Sci-Fi in the description, where you can get yourself some manga, books, sci-fi comics, anything like that with a 5% discount using my code NERDLOUNGE, and I'll get a little bit of cutback from that as well. That is the best way to support the channel. Or you can head over to my Patreon, where I've got some exclusive rewards for anyone that supports, and that way you can support the channel on a monthly basis and get some exclusive content at the same time. Finally, the free way to support the channel is just to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be alerted every single time that I upload. And last but certainly not least, if you're not sick of seeing this face today, you can check out one of the videos on the left and right of me. They've been recommended just for you. And if you are done for the day, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.